We give thanks to you, O Lord our God, and the God of our fathers forever and ever. We give thanks to you, O Lord our God, and the God of our fathers forever and ever. It's you, the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation in every generation. We give thanks to you, O Lord our God, and the God of our fathers forever and ever. We give thanks to you for our lives and our souls, which are given into your hand. We give thanks to you for our lives and our souls, which are given into your hand. For your miracles every day, for your acts of devotion in every generation. We give thanks to you for our lives and our souls, which are given into your hand. Good one, your compassions never fail. The acts of your devotion never end. Good one, your compassions never fail. The acts of your devotion never never fail. The acts of your devotion never end. Good one, your compassions never fail. The acts of your devotion never end. We have hoped for you from long ago.
I hope you liked that. That was song Modim, which is Hebrew for We Give Thanks, and it's from my album, The Siddur Project. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit now, which is an album of ancient Jewish prayer, which is just basically biblical prayer. And the Jews would take strings and threads of scriptures and wind them up together in these beautiful prayers and add some also gorgeous, mysterious, rich language. And I find personally as an artist that language is very important for me in worship. And high and exalted language matters to me. And I think this idea of the transcendent and the majestic is something that we can learn to embrace and go deeper with. And sometimes my deeper experiences of worship are not in modern worship songs. It might be in a symphony. It might be in a cinematic movie soundtrack. It might be in a jazz piece where something about the quality of the music and the depth of the music and the depth of the words, or chanting, a Gregorian chant. And obviously it's Yeshua-centered, Jesus-centered worship where my heart goes to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But I like to color outside the lines with my worship experiences, and so I use the Jewish prayer book with my focus on Yeshua as the inspiration for this entire album. And each prayer is set in English with its own, totally own special sound for the frequency, the sound, the experience of that prayer. So anyway, you might enjoy the Siddur Project. How are you guys doing? Oh, we're here. End of another week. End of another week. And so I just wanted to check in with you guys today and see how we're doing. I kind of need a little more. What did you say there? I kind of need a little more. Well, maybe we can play some more music at the end of the show. Oh, by the way, my son, Jean-Marc, I have to play this for you. He just released a whole new piece called The New American Revolution. And it is like a soundtrack piece for the revolving, the revolutioning, the turning of our nation back to, I think, what our founding principles are. It's really cool, and I'll figure out a way to share it with you guys. Maybe I'll upload it and play it on Monday. But, I just wanted to check in with you guys and see how you're doing. How many of you are doing things that scare you on a regular basis? Are you? Are you? You could listen to me talk every day of the week, but what do I say to you at the end of every program, the end of every message? Go do something that scares you. Go do something that scares you. Go do something that makes you uncomfortable. Get yourself out there and live in the paradigm of risk. Risk. It's moving into risk where the Spirit of God meets us. The automatic door to the grocery store doesn't open until you've already stepped and you're walking toward it. The food that Jesus multiplied didn't multiply until the disciples took it out there and broke it in front of the hungry mobs that were expecting food, and they had their 5 loaves and 2 fish or whatever it was, or 7 loaves and 5 fish or whatever. They had thousands to feed and very few things in their hand. And it was in the act of breaking the bread that it multiplied. That's the act of risk. That's the act of discomfort where the miracle is. The miracle in our life of living fear-free occurs in the risk. That's where the miracle happens. And that's also where the brain is rewired the most powerfully. Do you know that memories are cemented depending on how many, more deeply, depending on how many different avenues of learning you employ or modalities? So, for example, there's the visual modality, right? There's the oral, the hearing modality. There's the speaking modality. There's the kinesthetic, tactile modality. There's, just with your hands, right? But there's also a body-wide kinesthetic modality. There's a spiritual modality of being aware of the presence of God and being aware of spiritual things while you're doing that. There is the logical modality of being in thought and processing information and being present. And there are probably other modalities within the human body that I'm not even sure of, but the more ways you can get the modalities that you function with and through to be firing when you're learning new things, the more deeply that memory, that truth, that information, that revelation will be implanted in you. So, for example, with kids, my daughter was in Classical Conversations, which is a classical education homeschool program. And they had them learning the timeline, the historical timeline of the whole earth. In 1 year, these kids would be able to sing a song that they could sing through the entire timeline of human history, at least Western history, right? And first of all, it was a song, and it was visual, and they had cards, so they had words, they had cards, they had mnemonics, I think is the word for it, where you're moving in a certain way. And this is to help kids, right, to move and jump when they do certain things. Sometimes kids that have problems with reading will use, I remember my husband's mom was a reading expert, and she helped kids with reading difficulties and the kid, you know, the issues where they process things backwards in their brain. And she would have them create, the moms cut out letters out of sandpaper and have the kids feel the sandpaper letters with their fingers as they learned to read them and write them, and or put their hands in the sand and draw the letters and sing the song about the sounds of the letters. She had a song, a phonics song. A says A or A, B says B, C says K or S, D says Da. And they could sing the song, see the letters, see pictures of words with those sounds. They could move their bodies. They could smell, taste, touch the materials in the book. They could trace with sand, right? And this is the more present, the more parts of us that we are using to impress truth, the more deeply it's going to go. And what's interesting about risk is that risk will awaken more parts of you, I think, more quickly. Because risk is that thing where we are aware of potential threat. And so more of our body is going to be awake and alert, paying attention and activated and maybe acting up, maybe triggered under a state of discomfort or risk. So what I'm telling you is that it is my thought and belief that the things you do under the supposed duress or activation in your body of risk, the more deeply you're going to process that as change. Because when you do something that is risk-oriented, risky, your heart rate changes. You salivate differently. You gulp differently. Your hands might sweat. Your stomach might actually, you know, when people are in fight or flight or they feel afraid, your body changes away from its normal digestive focus and so forth, and sort of shuts that stuff down so you can focus on other things. This is one of the things that's interesting about fight or flight or acute stress response, is that the other systems in the body kind of narrow to keep you focused on the task at hand, which your body perceives as a safety issue. And so a lot of things are changing and activating. So what if you take those things where your body is arming and focusing and becoming hyper aware in certain ways to your benefit? What if you use what you normally think of as terrible and dangerous? Oh my gosh, risk. Oh my gosh, I might get hurt. Oh my gosh, I might, you know, that scares me. What if you use the responses that your body is going to have to old information, which is why you feel the fight or flight rising. Your body has learned because you learned something might be scary or hurtful, and so that's gone in as information. So when you go to do something like that or something unknown, it sparks up, it refocuses, a whole bunch of changes chemically happen throughout your whole body to prepare you for what might be coming your way. Well, what if we saw that as an opportunity? What if you knew, when I say to you, go do something that scares you, what if one of the rewards for doing that is doing your thing and learning to be safe and learning how to be confident and learning how to be poised and learning how to be grounded in a difficult situation? What if that is actually going to be more deeply learned by you in an adrenalized state? I say this also because at one point I took a self-defense class, and what was interesting about it was they taught us the physical movements of self-defense. It was interesting because for women, they said our legs are the most powerful, so they didn't recommend us trying to hit people this way. They wanted us to use leverage, but also they said if you actually get on the ground and use your legs to kick, you have more power as a woman than if you're just fighting with your hands. It was an interesting thing. Well, they taught us these moves and everything. But then in order to cement the information, they said, you need this in your deeply, you need to learn this on all these different levels, the concepts, the ideas, the diagrams, the movements, the interactions. But in order for us to really cement this as learning in you, you need to do these things in an adrenalized state. They said if you enact these movements and these powerful self-defense techniques while you're adrenalized, it will increase how much you remember them, how deeply they go into your memory and your body memory and your core kind of just responses. So they had this guy come in a big suit with a big thing around his head and all kinds of padding, and each of us women had to go and fight this guy and hit full force and try out our moves, and he was really trying to pin us down and do stuff. And they were saying, this is how you learn, in an adrenalized state. So when I say to you, go do something that scares you, you are going to go and do something that is going to increase adrenaline and increase those feelings that you have of risk because of memories, because of the unknown. And that's because your body's doing its job to protect you. It doesn't mean you necessarily are in danger. It doesn't necessarily mean you are ashamed or you are a nothing or that your worst fears are true at all. It just means that your body is aware that you're going to need to fight. You're going to need to do something that is risk-oriented. So what if you began to see the beauty in being adrenalized while you learn something? What if you thought to yourself, the very fact that I'm going to go knock on a door or make a phone call or confront a friend or take off a mask or, pray for the sick, cast out a demon, ask for a job, ask for a raise, ask for call somebody up and set a boundary, stop talk in front of people, whatever it is. What if you said to yourself, I'm going to practice confidence and the skill of being present and functioning under an adrenalized state. Great. This is good. The good thing about the self-defense class was that they told us, obviously here's the guy. He's big and scary. He looked scary in this thing. Okay, I'm giving you a warning in advance. You're going to fight. Think it'll be real. You're going to have to hit full force, and this guy's really going to try. And you got to give it your all. And so we knew we were prepped. He wasn't really an assailant, but it was interesting. In that place, with all those things going on, it did change our state, and it did create a state of adrenaline, maybe not to the same extent as have a guy walk up to you in an alley or something. And so that helped me cope with the risk and the fear of being in front of a class and trying my stuff out and not knowing if my body would work and not knowing if I would remember. And maybe the fear for me was, well, what if I get in this fight with this guy and I lose control and I can't remember? Well, then that probably means that if I really need these skills, that I'll fall apart and I'll be in danger. You see how you always have a mind game, like what if, and your mind jumps to the worst possible thing. Well, in any event, we had some prepping. We had it coming. We learned some things in various modalities, and then we fought in an adrenalized state. It was a powerful experience, and they said, this is cementing muscle memory in you. Well, we kind of need the muscle of our brain to have that level. That muscle memory is what you know to do automatically without consciously having to tell yourself, knit one, purl two, or here, do this, touch that. It's the bicycle reality, that your brain learned it, and you don't really have to think about everything, right? That's muscle memory. We kind of need the muscle memory of the brain, which is where the deeper messages become more and more automatic to us. The safety reflex becomes automatic. You really can learn to have the deep sort of brain muscle memory of that you're okay, that you're safe, that God is with you, that you're loved, that you're not shamed, that He's with you wherever you go, and that becomes instilled in you what? Through the relationship we talked about, through the healing of memories, through the brain retraining. And today I'm talking about the desensitization of fighting and learning under in an adrenalized state. And it helps to change your chemistry and the wiring in your brain. So to go and do something on purpose that scares you, or to plan to do it, or to take a friend, is the process of like we did in that self-defense class. We prepped, we learned, we knew, and then we did it. And the very fact that you will go and do things that cause your heart rate to go up, that make you kind of, gulp and your knees shake, and you kind of worry about it a little bit beforehand, means that when you go to act on it, you're going to be in a more engaged, more aware, more focused state, and you will learn more from having done it. It will make a deeper imprint. It will change you more. It will empower you more. This is why we talk about desensitizing the brain means to go into situations where you have a high amount of reaction, panic, fear, and anxiety, but you teach yourself to get ready for those bigger risks by doing something every day that makes your heart race a little bit, makes you kind of worried a little bit, makes you a little hyper aware and a little kind of and you just do it, and it creates a very focused state, and it will bear much fruit in changing the quote-unquote natural muscle auto response memory thing in your body, that you've got this. It's like some people who just know. It's like water skiing. I've done it for so many years that even though every year it's like, oh, a new year, I want to get up on my slalom ski and do my thing. But I've been there, I've done it. I'm a little uncomfortable, every summer, how's it going to go? And yet things kick in because I've learned that skill over and over in an adrenalized state. I've learned it like a bike riding when you're little is learned in an adrenalized state. Conversation, competition, boundary setting is learned in an adrenalized state because nobody likes to do it. Calling people, making cold calls, sharing the gospel, praying for the sick, confronting is learned in an adrenalized state. And the people who do it well do it often enough that their body just becomes desensitized over time. Like you're aware it's a challenge, but somehow you're going to be fine. And the knowing gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper inside of you, as opposed to the opposite, which is avoidance. Staying away from that adrenalized state, staying away from those uncomfortable feelings, hiding and avoiding and avoiding and avoiding. And actually, that comes back to boomerang on you, and you wind up becoming more and more terrorized and anxious because you have to take responsibility to teach your body to calm down, to teach your body a competence. Your body has to be taught competence. Like you have to teach your body how to do sit-ups, and you have to teach your body how to move and get muscle mass. Your body has to be taught competence. And as you teach your body competence, your brain is involved in resetting ideas, resetting goals, preparing, developing strategies. You see? So it's all good. So this is why I'm going to tell you today, go do something that scares you. Make the choice to learn a new skill or part of a skill, or bite off more of some new fear-free living on purpose, because you're going to be adrenalized and a little nervous when you do it. It's actually going to create a greater change in you because you did it that way. It takes less, your body's way less engaged if you're like, okay, 5 years from now, I'll deal with that. You're not even present. It's not a present reality. It's another way of avoiding, right? So in any event, I have someone at my door. I wish I could play more music for you, but I have to go answer the door. So go do something that scares you, and I'll be back to see you on Monday. Remember, go to julielavender.com. If you want to always see my live streams, I still am on YouTube and Twitter and CloudHub Channel 129.